When working in InDesign, you should always use defined styles instead of manual styling. This helps you maintain consistency throughout your document, makes it easier to implement changes, and gives you control over the semantic tagging of your exported documents. That means it will be less work to make your final product accessible. If you don't have the Paragraph Styles window open, find it in the Window menu under Styles or hit F11. If you make some styling changes and then hit the Create New Style button, you'll have a new style that is based on the style you had selected. Adjustments made to the parent style will have a cascading effect on all of its descendants, as long as that descendant style doesn't have a conflicting direction already. For example, if I change the font of my title style, all of my heading styles will change to that font. But if I change the weight to regular, this heading stays bold italic because that was already different from the parent style. Right-click on any style in the Paragraph menu and pick Edit to open the Paragraph Style Options window. On the General tab, you can change the parent style by selecting an option from the Based On drop-down menu. You can also define the next style, meaning what style the next paragraph will be in when you hit Enter. For headings, it makes sense to pick a paragraph style instead of same style. You can also define a keyboard shortcut for selecting this style. For my headings, I like to get as close as I can to the Word keyboard shortcuts without interfering with existing InDesign shortcuts, so I use Ctrl-Alt plus the corresponding F key for that heading level. On the Export Tagging tab, you can define how a paragraph is semantically represented in your exported document. This information is critical to how Access Technologies interpret your document. For PDF export, your options are Automatic, Paragraph, Heading Levels 1 through 6, or Artifact. It's important to define this tag for any heading styles to make sure the heading structure is interpreted how you intended. There are probably hundreds of other details you can adjust in the Paragraph Styles Options window. Let's take a quick look at the tabs I use the most. Bullets and numbering. You can get very specific with your list styles. If you want numbered headings that are still tagged as headings and not lists, make sure you define the export tagging on your style. If you're making a list and want it to be interpreted as a list, set the export tagging to automatic. Span Columns tab. If you're using columns, as I do when preparing forms, you'll need to define different styles with different column spans. If you're using a 6-column object style and want your text to cover a third of that width, you would set the column span to 2. I also just noticed that you can create a style that splits columns instead. That might be an easier approach than what I did with our template. Oh, bother. Hyphenation tab. If you hate it when words are hyphenated between 2 lines, you can disable that here. There are also a lot of settings to fine-tune when hyphenation is allowed. Keep Options tab. I generally prefer to keep lines together in most circumstances. Page breaks mid-sentence feel disruptive. For some headings, you may want to change the start paragraph setting. For example, if the heading is a chapter title in a book, you may want to set it to On Next Page, or even Next Odd Page if you always want your chapters to start on the right side of the book. Paragraph Rules tab. If you like having a line across the page at the start of a new section, this is the tab for you. Rules can be added above or below your text, and the length of it can be adjusted. The offset value is a vertical offset, which you can adjust to position the line at the exact distance from the text that you prefer. However you style your text, if you remember to use paragraph styles and define your export settings, you'll end up with a PDF that can reach UA status after just 2 pre-flight adjustments. Mark all non-structure elements as artifact, and set PDF UA1 entry. Throw in some bookmarks from structure for good measure, and you have a ready-to-publish PDF.